Today we talk about one of the largest, strongest dinosaurs in the Path of Titans game. This creature is a force to be reckoned with, and you do not want to get on the wrong side of the T-Rex. Now, T-Rex has been through some changes recently in the Path of Titans game, some good, some bad, and we're going to go over it in this video on if it's worth growing a T-Rex after the recent update. So the first thing about the T-Rex is it's one of the most used dinos in the game for obvious reasons. It's the biggest, it's the most intimidating, and you can do a lot of damage with him if you know how to fight with him. Don't think just because you pick a T-Rex that you're going to win every PvP battle, because they are easy to outmaneuver if you're not careful. So the intimidation factor is very good for him because a lot of people or dinos will think twice before they fight you, especially in a 1v1 situation, making it easier to actually form groups with other dinos. So if you're playing solo, most of the time when someone sees you as a T-Rex, especially if you're fully adult, then they most likely will not mess with you, and if you show that you're friendly back, they'll try to invite you into a group, and then you could form a big group with T-Rexes or whoever you group up with. And then when it comes to his moveset, he does have some pretty high damaging moves. For head, he has a bite attack that does 80 damage, and that is one of the most highest damage bite attacks in the game. He also has a bone snap, which does 30 damage with at least minimum 30-second bone break. And obviously the longer you have it charged up for, the more bone break, or the longer the bone break will be on that dino. And then you have crushing bite, which is a small damage and low bone break, which does 40 damage and at least 10-second bone break. So it does do 40 damage, which is not that bad actually, but you can only put 2 head attacks on at once, so I would suggest personally just a regular bite and the bone snap. Do not underestimate the bone snap. That can be a game changer in a lot of situations. For senses, he doesn't have anything in senses. Now for hide, they did make a few changes to his hide. They took out his thick scales, which I used to use all the time. When I had a defense Rex, I had thick scales on. It definitely helped me soak up a lot of damage, but it seems like they replaced it with these 2 scales, resilient scales and lightweight scales. Lightweight increases your speed by 10%, but decreases your turning speed by 40% and decreases your armor by 10%. They really took out thick scales to put this in. That's a waste, man. That's a waste. This is literally the worst hide you could put on. And then for resilient scales, it increases bleed and venom healing by 30%. This can be really good when you go up against dinos that are trying to bleed you out. Now because you're a T-Rex and you're really slower than most dinos, a lot of the faster dinos that have bleeding attacks can just run around you, circle you, they could claw you and then run away before you could even catch them, making you bleed out eventually. But this will actually help with that, and the healing will be increased by 30%. So if I had to choose, obviously pick resilience over the lightweight. For legs, he does have charge, and this is where he does a charging attack and it will cause damage to anything you run into. Sometimes I find this connecting, sometimes I don't. I think it bugs out a little bit to where it doesn't connect, but it does do a lot of damage nonetheless. He also will be getting another legs ability soon called Strong Legs, which will reduce the amount of knockback you get from dinos that have knockback attacks that would push you back. You would get reduced knockback, which is pretty good, but it's not out yet, so for right now he only has the charging ability. For tail, he has a regular tail attack that does 30 damage, and he will be getting another tail ability called Balance, which actually I think it helps you turn faster, about 15% faster. Turn radius, which can be good or can be bad, depends on how you play it. And then for voice, he has Tyrant Roar, and he also has another voice ability coming called Deep Rumble, and Deep Rumble will decrease incoming damage by 20% for 30 seconds. So when that comes out, it's not out yet, but that will be coming out as well for him. You'll have a choice between the Tyrant Roar and the Deep Rumble. And then something else that's minimal is his vocal selection. I think he has one of the best vocal selections in the game. I just love how loud he is. That makes him even more intimidating. You can hear him coming from a mile away, and most of the time, especially if you're an official, your heart will jump because you do not want to die to one of these. But now, let's talk about the bad things about the T-Rex that I do not like, and I'm sure a lot of you guys that play the T-Rex a lot can agree with me on most of these things. The first thing is, when you're trying to grow a T-Rex, whether you're a juvie, an adolescent, or whatever, you will become a target to every dino. They just see T-Rexes as a threat. KOS, kill on sight. So yeah, expect a lot of that when you're trying to grow a T-Rex. Expect to get attacked by everything. Don't really trust anybody. T-Rexes pretty much get the worst of it, even when they're babies, so you have to be wary of that. So it can take a while to grow the T-Rex if you keep dying and getting killed by other dinos, so if you're trying to grow, you might want to go somewhere by yourself. Now, when it comes to traveling with the T-Rex, you can see this is him right now, fits for fully sprint mode, and my stamina is pretty decent, but it does run out fairly quickly. You can see it looks like we're moving for a long time, but with his speed being so slow, we're not really going that far. And then when it comes to his stamina regen, if we were to lay all the way down, stamina regen is pretty decent to average. It is not the best. And if you get into situations with the T-Rex where you're out of stamina in the middle of a fight, it'll be hard to get away and regain stamina, which pretty much makes you a sitting target. Which is what the biggest problem I found in PvP with the T-Rex is you have to keep an eye on your stamina. Another thing is the T-Rex used to have 1,000 max health and they nerfed him down to 800 max health. He also used to have 7,000 combat weight and they nerfed it to 6,500 combat weight. And I think they did that because they were getting a lot of complaints that the T-Rex was really being overused in the game, a lot of mixed grouping and all that stuff, and they said the T-Rex was way too strong. And I guess that's why they nerfed it. Now, do I agree with the nerf? I personally do not. I think the T-Rex should be one of the strongest in the game. But I guess with some of his new abilities coming out, like Deep Rumble, it might make up for it. So when it comes to Tyrant War, when I used to play with T-Rex, I used to always just play solo. You know, when you're playing a T-Rex, you don't really need a group because you're a force to be reckoned with all on your own. And a lot of the times, Tyrant War would help me in 1v1 battles. Even if I'm battling another T-Rex or a Spino, I would activate Tyrant's Roar, get that little damage buff, and have a better chance. Now, the Tyrant Roar will not work in 1v1s, and you'll need it it only works when you're in a group. But like I said, I guess they made up for it with the Deep Rumble, because Deep Rumble will work by yourself, and you'll be able to take reduced damage for 30 seconds, which is pretty good nonetheless, so I guess it makes up for it. And the question is the T-Rex worth growing? I'm gonna say yes. Even though they did nerf his health, they nerfed his combat weight, they removed his thick scales, I still think he's a must to have in your roster. Just because he's still intimidating, he doesn't seem that much weaker to me than he did before, and with the new abilities that are coming out for him, I think that kind of makes up for what we're missing. Let me know in the comments your thoughts on the T-Rex, your thoughts on his new abilities. Anything I forgot to mention, you mention it in the comments below. Hit that thumbs up, let me know what dino you want me to do next, and make sure you subscribe for more content. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.